Okay, so if you're seeing this transmission, it's good because I believe we are at a crossroads for humanity. And it's a very interesting crossroads because obviously out there in the wild, in the world, things look a bit crazy. Feels like the world's collapsing, feels like people are struggling, people are having the squeeze put on them. But I wanted to do a quick session today. It's going to be an informational session based on what I believe is happening, where there are two worlds opening up. Not in some like fantastical, you know, woo woo galactic federation, that sort of thing way. I mean, more in like a raising of consciousness. I believe there's what I'm calling a bifurcation that's happening at the moment. There are two paths. Humans are choosing either to stay in this energy of externalizing power, fear, being driven by the body, being driven by the ego, being driven by the mind. But the second one, which is something I think you'll find more interesting that we're all going through right now, is this arise of the sovereign human. And this doesn't look like, this is really what I want to explain more than anything during this session. This does not look like protesting or overthrowing countries or changing economic structures. It's nothing to do with that. It's about a group of humans now that are embodying a higher level of consciousness from within, from who they are. So we're going to get into that today a little bit. I've created a little document I'd like to talk through. And if you haven't subscribed to this new channel, it would be great. Obviously, my main platform is Instagram, but we're growing this channel now. I'm so excited. So yeah, lock in. This is going to be a very important session for anyone who's raising their consciousness, trying to change their lives from the inside out. And yeah, let's move on. Okay, so I've entitled this training the Divergence. We are growing as a species right now. There's an enormous shift in consciousness happening. And for the first time, what people are understanding is that it's actually the nervous system that is the driver of your experience. We've been brought into this world and taught to externalize everything, taught to validate everything outside of ourselves, taught that our sovereignty exists in a groupthink environment. And through a very small percentage of people, there is a new world that is now emerging from, I guess, the rubble of what is. And what you're seeing out there as collapse or despair or suffering or all those things, it's not a collapse, nor is it a point of salvation for humanity. And it's not a sudden awakening. It's not like there's going to be, in my opinion, I don't think there's going to be a great solar flash that's going to like change consciousness forever. But it's a divergence and it's a bifurcation. So there are two ways of living that are now unfolding at the same time. And this is really crucial to understand. And we're going to coexist in the same world at the same time with the same people, the same families, same workplaces, same communities, although the landscape of how we're going to create abundance is rapidly changing with the advent of AI and other such things. But these are the two paths that are forming, and it's a really beautifully empowering but crucial time for humanity. And I would imagine if you're seeing this transmission, you're on the right side of this. There's no wrong side of this from the highest level, but you're on the side that's choosing the second thing I'm going to talk about. So one of the paths is going to continue as we've always continued. More speed, more noise, less accountability, more reaction, more outsourcing of attention to things, doom scrolling, Netflix, all those things. Not using your own intuition and your own sovereignty and responsibility and allowing other people to dictate that. And I think that is the era that is ending for many of us. There's only a small percentage of us. I would say it's probably 3 or 4% of the global population. But many of us, not through protest, but through passivity, have decided that there is a better way, and we're changing the way things work. So this other path that's being formed right now is very calm and very peaceful and very quiet. You see, enlightenment is actually quite boring. Sorry to break that to you, but it's not something that's like 1,000 mile an hour where you're sort of floating on clouds all the time. It's when you're in a stable, regulated environment. You feel safe. You don't feel fear anymore. You feel very calm. And things just start to arrange around you as a state of your being, as a consequence of who you become, not that which you're trying to be. So, and we're doing this as a way of living now. So let's look at what this divergence actually is, give you a bit more information about that. It's nothing to do with what's going on politically in the world. Absolutely nothing. It's more of a biological and psychological shift that's happening. So it's very spiritual, but underneath it, there is a biological element, nervous system, self-concept, your body being the vessel, and psychological. And the psychological aspect is learning to interact with reality in a different way to create different outcomes. So here's what the divergence really is. It's a divergence between nervous systems that remain overwhelmed and reactive, and they will be swept along with the tsunami of fear, distraction, pain, suffering that's happening, which many people are still. Some of the most enlightened people per se out there are also getting caught in these narratives and timelines. It's very addicting. It's very powerful, but you have to take your attention off it. If you look at any ancient philosophy, Hermetic wisdom, Kabbalistic wisdom, even the teachings of Christ, the pure teachings of Christ, it was always about the kingdom of heaven within, as within, so without. It was always about regulating your nervous system, finding peace on earth within you, and then that begins to manifest outside of you. So this is the bifurcation that's happening. On one side, there's nervous systems that are overwhelmed and reactive, and on the other side, there are nervous systems that are regulated and sovereign, and new value structures, new economies, new realities are being created by those people. So 2026, the world's going to accelerate. Pressure will increase. And under that pressure, you have two choices. We do one of two things. We either fragment ourselves and give all of our life force and scatter it to the things that we've always done, where we give all of our power away, unknowingly, actually, predominantly through the time we give to things that don't positively impact our lives. Or we stabilize an environment for ourselves, which is safer, more sovereign, and uplifting. And the future of humanity, in my opinion, is being formed, the new future, by the few with the higher level of consciousness that will stabilize into this new energy. So in a non-elitist way, and I think it will be more than this, I wanted to call it the new 1%. Power versus force. If anybody's read the book Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, he talks about how force has been used through our reality for thousands of years, back to the Roman Empire. They were a cruel species. They forcefully invaded people and tortured people and killed people. Pure power is something greater. An example would be Mahatma Gandhi pretty much brought the entire British Empire down in India through peaceful, passive protest, through pure power. And at the old 1% in our reality we've experienced, they were defined by capital, control, leverage of others, manipulation, coercion, greed, lust. And that party's going to be over very soon, because this technological singularity we're moving to, where AI is going to change the whole landscape of our existence, is going to change the whole game. Economic structures will need to be reimagined. Capitalism as we know it is over, because capitalism, the fundamental mechanism of that is that people are giving time for money, and those functions are going to be made redundant. So this is why becoming this emerging 1 to 4% is so profound right now, because it's almost like divinely timed for us during this period, and this is why we came here. So the people who can remain regulated and calm and can feel deeply through fear, through situations, through trauma, without collapsing into old behavioral patterns, can not numb things with substances and alcohol and addictions, and can learn to make decisions without urgency. That's the new elitism, but in such a more profound way. Why? Because this version of being the 1% or the 3% or the 4%, however many it becomes, brings the entire sonship, the consciousness of humanity, rises up. And it's no longer about elitism, it's about capacity of nervous system, capacity to receive, capacity to hold, capacity to expand. And it's going to be ever more difficult for people operating in those old timelines of greed and selfishness. That party is over. And you see, a regulated nervous system is the foundational point of all of this. Everything begins in your nervous system. If your body lives in survival, your perception narrows to that point of survival. And you can only see solutions to things in your life through that lens, through that perception. So if you have a problem that cycles round and you don't know how to get rid of it, you don't have a problem, you have a perception problem. So when you begin to regulate your nervous system, it's almost like these gates open and it widens up and your perspective changes and you start to see things laterally as opposed to linearly through this very specific point of your belief systems, your nervous system, your views, your ego, your positionalities in life. And no amount of work can override this. So I would say if you want to create true abundance in your life, regulate your nervous system. Obviously, this is all I teach. And no amount of mindset work will override a dysregulated body. It just cannot do that. A regulated nervous system creates safety, clarity, calmness, receptivity, true abundance, love, faith. All of those things are spontaneously created from that position. And this is why nervous system regulation is not a form of self-care. It's the infrastructure of your very existence. And anyone who's still parroting manifestation techniques and coaching that way is so far behind the curve now. You manifest from state. You don't manifest from do. You manifest from who you are. But when people say that and parrot that as well, you don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. They're missing the point. They're getting the essence of it, but they're missing the point. Who you are is how regulated your nervous system is. And your nervous system dictates the capacity for you to receive and keep love, friendships, abundance. And this is why when I talk about this divergence, this is where the self-sovereign human is going to come to prominence and to rise. And self-sovereignty does not start with having a trust fund or more money or more freedom or independence. It begins with stabilizing yourself internally first. A regulated nervous system cannot be hijacked by the news, by other people's emotions, by a partner being grumpy, by one of your kids playing up. It's more robust than that. Sovereignty means that you have a non-reactive state. You feel calm. You love yourself. You honor yourself. Even if the circumstances of your life are frustrating, you still know that you're good enough. And you still know that you're wise enough. And you still know that you can overcome anything because you have that internal knowingness. And external freedom will follow that automatically. External freedom follows internal sovereignty every time, not the other way round. And this is the crux of the whole thing. What we're learning in this new world is that abundance without chasing, abundance without trying, vision boards, journaling, mantras, mudras, crystals, headstands, all these things. Abundance is a state of this emergence that's happening for humanity. Because when the body no longer believes it's under threat or in fear, it can stop leaking all of that energy and life force everywhere else. And you will have solutions in that greater view that's created, you will have solutions. So this is your role right now, if this is resonating with you, the role of the few that are walking this path, the ones who are choosing differently. You don't need like hedonism and excess to feel alive. If you want those and your cup's overflowing, that's fine. You don't need to dominate other people's opinions and win arguments and battles. Passivity becomes pure power, not because you're weak, but because you choose a different way to honor that, because you know that conflict takes you out of your sovereign integrity. And what I wanted to say is that this path is not easy, but it is freer because it constantly requires you to reflect, to honor yourself, to pick yourself up when you make a mistake, when you let your halo slip, when you frazzle your nervous system, to honor everything about you. And you will make more progress in 30 to 60 days by regulating your nervous system than you will in years of therapy. And how do I know this? Because I've helped a lot of people with this. So this short video was to tell you that if you're trying to manifest something new in your life, if you're trying to change the conditions of your life, you need to learn to do that from the state of a regulated nervous system, not from a frazzled nervous system that's trying to create more things, because you'll just create things that are not good, that are distorted, and you'll keep snapping back to this point. So true abundance is nervous system. True abundance is a great self-concept. True abundance is sovereignty. And the world does not need saving right now. The world has been doing what it does for infinite amount of time. There's no beginning, there's no end. What it needs is stabilizing so we can all rise up above this nonsense that's going on in the world. Regulation over reaction, sovereignty over outsourcing all of your power, presence always over panic. And that's the divergence. And if you're seeing this and you've stayed with this, you're already on the right side of it. If you go into the comments, there is a training on this where I help show you the way forward. For now, be sovereign, be calm, be free. You're amazing. Bye.